Yo, what's good, everybody? We back again. And ooh, this one's spicy. Michael K, he's not holding back. Nah, he's calling out them Mets fans, talking about collapses, talking about pain, talking about all that trash that got thrown his way. And now he's laughing. He's laughing at the whole situation. So buckle up, because this ain't just about baseball. This is pride. This is New York. This is Yankees versus Mets, and it's getting ugly. Let's get into it.
Because the lead story happens to be what I think is one of the most embarrassing collapses in the history of professional sports. The New York Mets, with a $340 million payroll, not making the playoffs. A year after they went to Game 6 of the NLCS against the Dodgers, 2 wins away from going to the World Series. And they go out and they add Juan Soto, one of the great hitters of all time, a generational hitter who had a really excellent year, and they don't even get into the postseason. Steve Cohen sent out a long a long tweet about an hour ago. Said it was unacceptable. And they're going to delve into reasons why it happened. A lot of white noise. You could point fingers all you want. Players didn't get it done. And to make matters worse, to make it more painful for the New York Mets and their fans, they lose on Friday. They win on Saturday. They go into Sunday tied. They can't be tied because the Reds have the tiebreaker. The Reds lose to Milwaukee, and the Mets saw it up on the board that they were losing 4-2. And the Reds are not a great offensive team. If they have a strength, it's their starting pitching. You knew they weren't coming back from 4-2 down to Milwaukee. And you could not score a run. You couldn't score a run off the Miami Marlins. I don't know if a team should be more embarrassed ever than the Mets are, and should be. And people want to point fingers now. They want to point fingers at Carlos Mendoza. They want to point fingers at David Stearns. Well, here's what I would ask you to do, and I want you all to be very rational. You look at the team that David Stearns assembled. Now, I think he did an awful job at the trade deadline. I think he did an awful job before the season with the players that he brought in and the players that he didn't bring in. Don't give him any credit for Soto. That was Cohen. Don't give him any credit for Alonso. That was Cohen. That was not Stearns. And I'm not a David Stearns hater. And I think he didn't have a great year after having a great year the year before. But just ask yourself this one question. The talent that he assembled coming into this season, should they, if they had Chris Carlin managing them, win more than 83 games? That's all I ask. And that's all they do is win one more game. And they would be in the playoffs right now, heading to L.A. Last night they would have been heading to L.A. to play the Dodgers, starting tomorrow night. So as bad a job as David Stearns did, and if you think that Mendoza did a bad job, I don't think necessarily that he did, but if you think that he did, the players, just on the strength of the back of their baseball cards, don't you think that they should have won more than 83 games? It's on the players.
That collapse, it ain't just painful. It's a straight up embarrassment. $340 million and you choke out the way the Mets did, that falls squarely on bad construction and players who aren't giving you what you paid for. Francisco Lindor hasn't been the shortstop you build around. Too many defensive hiccups, too many quiet at-bats in big spots. Pete Alonso's turned into a heavy payroll anchor who doesn't justify the roster slot anymore. Jeff McNeil, once a spark, now perimeter production that doesn't move the needle. Harsh? Maybe. Accurate? Yep. If you want to restart, those are the pieces you trade. Move them while they still have perceived value and get real pitching in return. Keep Juan Soto. He's the generational asset here. build around him. What the Mets need is frontline starting pitching and a bullpen that doesn't freeze in September. No more papering over with reclamation projects or hoping young arms magically become aces overnight. Get proven innings, upgrade defense, and stop letting matchups and mental mistakes cost you games. Front office accountability, absolutely. You don't spend like this and then blame white noise and injuries. Fix the roster blueprint. Trade the mismatches. Lindor, Alonso, McNeil. Acquire high-leverage arms. Prioritize an actual number one starter. And retool the lineup around Soto and defense-first depth. That's how you stop starring in one of the biggest collapses stories and start competing for October again. Fans deserve action, not excuses. You want to win? Rip it down, rebuild smart, and stop pretending this group, as constructed, was ever the answer.
Particularly the pitching. Going into this season on this show, I said the weakness of this Met team was the starting pitching. They were putting too much emphasis on the brilliance of Jeremy Hefner and their pitching lab. They did not bring in one stud, not one. Frankie Montas, everybody in baseball shies away from Frankie Montas because he's like that girl who's trouble. Beautiful, but you know she's trouble. He's got great stuff. He can't stay healthy. Couldn't stay healthy. Awful. You might have gotten the best out of Sean Manaea last year. You knew him better than anybody, and you still wanted to invest $3 million, 3 years and $75 million, and he was dreadful. You trusted him so little yesterday that with 2 runners on in the second inning, you could not trust him to get out of it. And you went to a bullpen, which has been an inflammatory group of players the entire season. And they gave up the 4 runs, and that was it. That was over. The Mets can't hit. Mets can't hit as a team. They were 0 for 8 with runners in scoring position. They left 10 men on base. And that's not an outlier. That's who they are. Blame the players. Blame the players. And the one chance they had, they do seem to have a black cat mentality in this franchise's history, or a black cloud over their head. They have the bases loaded in the 5th inning. And Pete Alonso hits the hardest ball he's hit all year. And Sanoa runs it down. End of the inning. End of the season. End of the dream. Now let's talk a little humbling of you and being a little spiteful. Met fans can't get out of their own way. Now, I'm not saying all of them. So when I say Met fans, the ones that I'm referring to know exactly who I'm talking about. They signed Juan Soto, and all of a sudden, the Yankees are the little brothers. We're the big brothers now. The Yankees are the little brothers. They couldn't even keep their great player. Now we have the last laugh on you. Who's laughing now? I guess Plan B wasn't that bad of a plan, was it? Plan B, the Yankees won more games than anybody in the American League East. They tied with the Blue Jays with the most wins, 94. That's Plan B. That's without Juan Soto. That's spending them money and spreading it out over Max Fried and Cody Bellinger and Paul Goldschmidt. I guess Plan B wasn't that bad, was it? Now, the Yankees could get knocked out by the Red Sox. Nobody's saying that might not happen. They could. But they're in the playoffs. And the Mets are going home. Now, this is for the subset of Met fans who jumped me like I stole something from their 98-year-old grandmother when I said I had the audacity to say that Juan Soto wasn't happy when the Mets came in the Yankee Stadium. I stand by that statement. I was correct. He wasn't happy. At no time did I ever say he was never going to be happy as a Met. But you people couldn't control yourself. Every time the Mets won a game, I mean, that was not during the 2 7-game losing streaks and the 8-game losing streak. Not during that time. Anytime they won a game, and Juan Soto had a good game, I got the idiotic, brain-dead tweets. Oh, it seems like he's glum now. Well, it doesn't look that unhappy now. I'm sorry, you guys have been mysteriously quiet today because there was a shot of Soto in the visitors' dugout yesterday at Lone Depot Park. He looked very glum. And if I was a bad guy, which I'm not, if I was a vindictive guy, which I am, but the fact that I'm not a bad guy overrides the fact that I'm just sickeningly vindictive, I would have tweeted out that picture of Juan Soto with a very unhappy face in the dugout, say, looks pretty glum. But I didn't do that. Too classy. But you wouldn't have been classy. If he had come up in the ninth inning and hit a grand slam to tie the game and they won in extra innings, you don't think that my inbox would have been full today? Because you can't help yourself, can you? And the baseball gods frown down upon that arrogance and that nastiness and that viciousness. I'll tell you this right now. I haven't even seen Juan Soto today. I bet you he's unhappy. I bet you he's unhappy that the team that he left because the Mets offered him more money and a suite and his mom gets new clothes, I bet you he's really sorry he left the Yankees. Because the Yankees are going to the postseason and the Mets are going home.
Mets fans, cover your ears because this one stings. Michael's not wrong about the pitching. The Mets rolled the dice on broken arms and bargain bin gambles instead of locking in a true ace. You can't build a $340 million roster and leave the rotation hinging on question marks like Montas or Minaya. That's malpractice, plain and simple. You build around Soto with actual frontline arms, not hoping your pitching lab sprinkles magic dust. And the hitting? Over and over. Same story. Men on base, nobody driving them in. That's not bad luck. That's identity. You had chances. You folded. Period. And then fans chest thumping about being Big Brother the second Soto signed. Embarrassing. Yankees pivoted with plan B, spread the money around, and they're in the postseason. Meanwhile, the Mets are crying into their October couch cushions. Soto, I'll tell you straight, he ain't unhappy because he's a Met. He's unhappy because he came here thinking this was a championship project, and he ended up carrying a dead weight roster that collapsed under him. Don't twist it. The guy's a generational hitter, and you're wasting his prime. So yeah, laugh it up about little brother all you want. At the end of the day, Yankees are playing ball in October. Mets are shopping for golf clubs. That's the reality. And until they rip this thing apart, Lindor, Alonso, McNeil, gone, and bring in real arms to back Soto, they'll keep being the punchline of New York baseball.
But maybe this is a lesson for that subset of Met fans that can't get out of their own way, that are so unhappy and so vicious, that maybe pipe down. Maybe if you pipe down, good things might happen. Maybe if you pipe down, you might make the playoffs 2 years in a row every once in a while. Maybe. But the Met team that you celebrated during the offseason can be completely different in 2026. I don't think they bring back Pete Alonso. I mean, how could you bring back the same team and expect things to be different? I think there's something broken. I think there's something broken in the clubhouse, which will come out. Already a big story in The Athletic today that Lindor and Soto have completely different views on how to get ready for a game. Soto is very serious. He attacks each game as if that's, he has to conquer that game. Lindor is very light, laughs, smiles, that they're different. That's why if it wasn't about money, it might have been the best thing for Juan Soto to stay with the Yankees, because if that's the way he attacks a game, the Yankees have always been very corporate. They're not the jolly carnival atmosphere that some players desire. Every game is big for them. I mean, they wear pinstripe suits, just like all those people on Wall Street. They're very conservative. So if Juan Soto doesn't like one guy being so lighthearted, why did he go to a team where that guy is a big part of it? Just consider this. When you say, they got to break the Mets up, well, they're unbreakable. Soto is signed through 2039. Consider this. I'm in fairly good health, but there's a good chance I won't be alive at the end of his contract. I'm 64. So 2009, I'll be 78. Who knows? Who makes it to 78? That's over the life expectancy in America. Then you've got Francisco Lindor signed through 2031. And then you got Brandon Nimmo signed through 2030. Now, Nimmo, if you eat some of his contract, maybe you could trade him. Maybe. Lindor's not going anywhere. Soto's not going anywhere.
There it is, the heart of the whole mess. Michael finally said it. Something is broken in that clubhouse. And I've been screaming this. You can't just slap together stars with different mindsets and think it'll magically click. Soto is a machine, laser focused, every at-bat like it's do or die. Lindor, he's out here grinning like it's a carnival ride. That's oil and water. You can't build a championship core when your supposed leaders don't even approach the game the same way. And this idea of pipe down Met fans, nah, this isn't about fans chirping. This is about an organization that bought shiny toys without fixing the foundation. You're locked into long-term deals with guys who don't fit. Lindor until 2031. Soto till 2039. Nimmo till 2030. That's not flexibility. That's a straitjacket. So yeah, Mets ownership's in a bind. If they're serious, they gotta rip the Band-Aid off now. Move Lindor while he's still got value. Alonso, gone. McNeil, gone. Stop pretending this core is salvageable. Build around Soto's mentality, the serious killer instinct, and pair it with pitching that can actually win in October. Otherwise, this isn't just a collapse. This is the blueprint for a decade of wasted years. And Mets fans deserve better than that.
So you're going to have to make your changes elsewhere. Maybe, Met fans, you'll have another opportunity to try to kick in the Yankee fans' teeth if you steal Cody Bellinger this offseason, because he's going to opt out of his deal. And nobody, including the Dodgers, are going to outbid Steve Cohen. They're just not. Yankees wanted Soto back. And they couldn't outbid Steve Cohen. Maybe they also got to a point where they, well, this is silly. We're not going this high. So maybe you can hang on the rim during the offseason. Oh, look, we stole Cody Bellinger from you. Like you were hanging on the rim because you stole Juan Soto. And I'm not going to sit here and be a liar or try to recreate a new truth. Yankees, it hurt them to lose Soto. For Hal Steinbrenner to go to $760 million, way above what I'm sure his baseball people wanted him to go to. That's how much he wanted him. That's how much he realized how important he was. But I've said this 100 times. You know, they want Steinbrenner to spend more money. You can spend all the money you want. Doesn't guarantee victory. You got to have some kind of cohesion and chemistry on that team. Mets obviously don't. They couldn't get out of their own way. Here's the thing that really has to sting. You got beaten out of a postseason spot by the Reds. The Reds, who have a third of your payroll. The Reds, who from the All-Star break on, they won 33 and 32. It's not like they overtook you. You were just inept. You gave this away. It is inconceivable. I never thought the Reds would catch you. And if you had a decent team with a little heart, they wouldn't have caught you. It's inconceivable to me that the Mets are not in the playoffs. Inconceivable. I got a lot of Met friends, fans that are Met fans, or friends that are Met fans. They're devastated today. How could you not be? This team systematically rips your heart out. And those are the people I genuinely feel for. I really feel for them. The people that I don't feel for, the people that made me think that it might be fun today to come on at 1 o'clock and just giggle for 2 hours. You know who you are. You're the creeps that couldn't let good enough be. You're the ones. We're the big brother now. You're the ones who kept sending those tweets out to me. Oh, Juan Soto looks happy now. How dumb do you feel? How chagrined are you? Are you embarrassed? Because this was going to be the dawning of a new era. The Yankees were going away. When they went 20 and 31 over those 51 games, you were rejoicing. I don't think the Yankees can make the playoffs. See, they couldn't do it with their plan B. Plan B worked. Your plan A didn't. You signed the best free agent available in a long time. One of the best players ever to become a free agent. Just a smidge behind Alex when Alex Rodriguez became a free agent at 26. That's how valuable Juan Soto is. And you still fell flat on your face.
There it is, the heart of the whole mess. Michael finally said it. Something is broken in that clubhouse. And I've been screaming this. You can't just slap together stars with different mindsets and think it'll magically click. Soto is a machine, laser focused, every at-bat like it's do or die. Lindor, he's out here grinning like it's a carnival ride. That's oil and water. You can't build a championship core when your supposed leaders don't even approach the game the same way. And this idea of pipe down Met fans, nah, this isn't about fans chirping. This is about an organization that bought shiny toys without fixing the foundation. You're locked into long-term deals with guys who don't fit. Lindor until 2031, Soto till 2039, Nimmo till 2030. That's not flexibility. That's a straitjacket. So yeah, Mets ownership's in a bind. If they're serious, they gotta rip the Band-Aid off now. Move Lindor while he's still got value. Alonso, gone. McNeil, gone. Stop pretending this core is salvageable. Build around Soto's mentality, the serious killer instinct, and pair it with pitching that can actually win in October. Otherwise, this isn't just a collapse. This is the blueprint for a decade of wasted years. And Mets fans deserve better than that.
Again, every Met fan out there, I feel for you. I do. And I don't rejoice in your pain at all. But it's that vicious, angry subset of Met fans that weren't hugged by their parents, who didn't have any love in their family, and they just love to pass along hate. Derisive, nasty. Those I don't feel sorry for. I'm going to tell you a little secret. I feel glee about your pain today because you deserve it. The way you tried to make my life a living hell by all those Juan Soto tweets when you knew that I never even said the stuff that you're accusing me of saying, but you needed something to hang on the rim about. And you said, let's pick the guy who announces Yankee games and is also accessible on the radio show. Let's do it to him. But now I'm the one who's laughing at you because you couldn't beat out the Cincinnati Reds with a $110 million payroll. You added the great Juan Soto to a team that went to Game 6 of the NLCS, and you didn't make the playoffs the next year. How do you wrap your mind around that? How? Now, in 3 days, you might be calling in and laughing at me because the Yankees could get eliminated by the Red Sox in the wild card. They could, and we'll talk about that later on. But my comeback to you would be, they played postseason games on a plan B. Your plan A, you could even get to the postseason. So all you nice Met fans that I love, and some of my best friends in the world are Met fans. Mike Breen is a Met fan. I feel for him today. But I want the arrogant ones, the ones that were, in their own way threatening me and, telling me I'd eat concrete if I went to that game on June 12th. Instead, I met the nice Met fans, the ones with the loud, obnoxious voices on social media, nowhere to be found. I wonder if they'll call in today. I wonder if you have anything to say today. I wonder if you think maybe we still are the little brother. Maybe all the money in the world can't buy a championship. Because look at the Dodgers. Dodgers spent an inordinate amount of money during the offseason. Oh, so much money on relief pitching. Their bullpen stinks. They had the third best record in the National League, so they're facing the Reds. They catch a break. If they don't beat the Reds, It won't be as bad as the Mets not making the playoffs, but boy, it'll be bad. Milwaukee Brewers don't spend any money. Have the best record in baseball. The Houston Astros spend a lot of money. They didn't make the postseason, but you can't laugh at the Houston Astros because they made the postseason every single year, since 2016, 2015? The Mets can't seem to, shake the habit of not being able to make the playoffs 2 years in a row. And the Mets didn't just collapse everybody. Here's what happened. It was a slow motion horror film that started on June 13th. It was like it was unfolding in front of you in slow motion and you couldn't stop it. And why I think that this is one of the worst collapses and embarrassments in the history of professional sports. This is a sport with some people thinking an embarrassingly expanse of their postseason, where 3 teams go to the wild card and you couldn't get into the party. Goodness gracious. How did this happen? Please, that subset of special Met fans that are miserable in their own existence, please, I want to hear from you today the most. Any apologies in order? Because your owner, Steve Cohen, who I think is a good guy with great intentions, he sent out a tweet today apologizing and saying that the season was unacceptable. Now, I don't think he has anything to apologize for. The guy has spent more money than anybody could have imagined or even wanted him to. And maybe he'll spend more money this offseason. But he has nothing to apologize for, just like George Steinbrenner had nothing to apologize for when the Yankees lost in 1981 to the Dodgers in the World Series. But Cohen wears it, and he apologized, and he did say it's unacceptable. The 2025 New York Mets not going to the postseason is unacceptable and embarrassment to the nth degree that I can't even wrap my mind around.
The Bronx Squirrel got to jump in on this one. Because listen, Michael K is spitting truth with venom here. And you Mets fans, yeah, I feel bad for the good ones. The ones who just want to see their team win, who sat through this slow motion horror show since June, like it was a bad movie you couldn't shut off. But that loud, cocky crew, the ones barking all year about Soto, laughing at Yankee struggles, acting like the big brother, nah, you don't get sympathy. You get roasted. You had everything. A $340 million payroll, Juan freaking Soto, a roster built to win now, and you still managed to trip over your shoelaces and land flat on your face while the Reds, with a third of your payroll, danced into October. That ain't unlucky. That's pathetic. And don't even try to spin it. Yankee fans been hearing for months how money buys titles and how Cohen was the king. Well, guess what? All that cash bought your first-class ticket to embarrassment. Because money without chemistry, money without leadership, money without heart, it's not worth squat. K nailed it. This wasn't just a collapse. It was one of the most embarrassing choke jobs in pro sports history. Expanded playoffs, more spots than ever, and you still couldn't find the door. That's not bad luck. That's bad culture. And the arrogant Mets fans who made a living clowning Yankee fans, where you at now? Silent? Nowhere to be found. So yeah, for the nice Mets fans, my condolences. For the loudmouths, eat it. You deserve every ounce of pain. Yankees plan B is still alive. Mets plan A blew up in your face. End of story. All right, that's gonna do it for today's rant. Now it's your turn. Jump in the comments, let me know if I'm right, if I'm wrong, or if you think I'm out of my mind. And don't forget, hit that subscribe, smash that like. It helps the channel grow. We'll be back with more takes, more debates, and maybe a few arguments. Until then, stay loud, stay passionate, and I'll catch you next time.